What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome into the 85th edition of the Tuesday Track Talk podcast featuring your Three Stones pit crew. I am your gas man, Cam,
I'm your Jackman Kel.
And I'm your tire changer Cam.
and this is going to be a loaded episode. We are coming off of what you could say is the greatest day in motorsports of the year. Obviously, we had a jam-packed Memorial Day weekend here this past Sunday with Monaco, the Indy 500, and the Coke 600, and we also had some other series racing throughout the country. Sit back, relax, enjoy this episode. We got a lot of racing to talk about, but before we dive into some racing, how was your guys' weekend?
Good. Got to enjoy the long weekend. Had a surprise visitor, so that was kind of fun.
Yeah, I made a trip down. I had a wedding to go to in another town, and I decided to stay in where the old Kellen's at.
Yep.
Said, "Hey, what are you doing?"
Well, let me tell you. But yeah, that
no,
was
I
good.
finally made it back to the racetrack. It's been since Madison at the beginning of the month that I've been to the racetrack. So I was finally able to get back on Monday. Gonna have another week without being at a track. We'll see if I decide to pull a trip off or not. Um, but then as soon as June comes around, I'll be hot and heavy at the racetrack again. So
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it is a scary part here. We just hit Memorial Day weekend. Next weekend's June, and then it feels like we're a month away from the 4th of July. And I feel like once you hit the 4th of July, it's like summer's half over, and it's bang.
yep.
Yep.
Um, so, yeah, weather's getting nicer though. Starting to feel like summer, so that's nice. Um, and yeah, tracks are in almost in the full swing. Um, let's get down to business here, and let's start talking some racing. Let's talk a little bit of Monaco. And I'll be straight up honest with you, I was getting a little shut eye when this one went green. Um, and I got a feeling you did, you were too, you two lizards. Um, you guys, yeah, I feel you guys weren't recovered and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed for this race, but I know we were chatting a little bit about some of the highlights. But let's start briefly chatting on the Monaco Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Uh,
So Lando Norris scored the pole for this one. I don't know what's going on there with that.
I pull up my X account and see my race pick.
Oh, yeah, I seen that. Um, and we had mentioned on the race preview too that whoever was going to start up front was probably going to win this race, pending what the pit strategy was going to be, especially with it being two stops. For lack of a better term, it didn't work. The pit strategies. It was
Yep.
about as boring a race, if not worse of a race than what it previously was. Um, Teammates that were deeper in the field uh, were given the instruction to slow down the rest of the field so that their further up teammate could have a better pit stop when the pit cycles came around. So there were some team orders being played. There wasn't a lot of passing. There was one wreck at the beginning of the race, but there was no safety car afterwards. Yeah, it just ended up being another Monaco race, for lack of a better term. And everybody's kind of fed up with it being just another Monaco race and wants to do something with it, but nobody knows what.
Yeah, it seems like they've joined the boat of some of the struggles that we've been through of recent.
Not a lot of passing and collusion. Two
So,
great topics. Yeah, and just from the few highlights I saw, like we talked about in the preview too, and then goes on to prove our point here. Old Lando Norris scores the pole and ends up winning the race. So we talked about that last week in our race preview, just talking about the difficulty of passing. And if you're gonna start up front, you got a really good shot at winning it. Um, yeah, Lando ends up starting up front. for the pole and ultimately gets the win. So, um, yeah, and
I,
from go ahead.
I was gonna say I think the most exciting part of that race was George Russell losing his absolute mind uh in the middle of the race because of
I
Alex Albon holding up the line and everything like that. Which they ended up going to dinner afterwards.
Nice.
They had a pre-planned dinner with each other that they both went to, and he said that Albon was picking up the check in his interview, and Albon thereafter did pick up the check looking at the Instagram post. So,
Great.
yeah, there was should we put rain in one certain spot and should we put banana peels like Mario Kart in the track and this, that, and the other, and yeah, there's just seems to be no solution in sight on trying to make this race entertaining.
Yeah. So, and like I said, that feel like we're talking NASCAR at Monaco here. Um, I have to dig into the bag of tricks and see what you can change to make it more entertaining. So, conversation we're all too familiar with in the NASCAR world. So,
Mhm.
um, Monaco ultimately becomes a little bit of a snooze fest there. And like we said, Lando starts up front and ends up getting the win. Charles Leclerc gets second, and Oscar is it
Piastri.
Piastri? Piastri rounds out your top three. So, um, any other final thoughts on the Monaco Grand Prix?
Oscar Piastri really showing to be a championship favorite this year, along with Norris. Uh, McLaren looks to be a championship team. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's about it.
Well, we're gonna have to try to figure something out.
Yeah. All right, let's get into just an absolute spectacle of a race and in the Indy 500 sold out. Um, and I think there's just one word to describe this race, and it was chaos. Um, right from the beginning. And so um again, chat about it briefly in the race preview. And we didn't want to you don't want to talk about her too much, otherwise she hears you talking about her and she'll come in and wreck your plans. But Ma Nature showed up and wanted to play little games with them. And did that. So we had a slight rain delay to start the Indy 500, and boys, we didn't even get green, and we got smashed up stuff. Um, old Scotty Mack, maybe that was a Racing Gods talking to Team Penske, um, but
Bit the third and final Penske driver.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Scotty Mack, they're getting ready to go green. He's trying to get a little heat in the tires, swerving, and man, he biffed it. Smashed thing up under didn't even take the green.
Nope.
And we had one smashed up. So
Just one of the most absolute worst feelings as a driver. Like you saw the disappointment obviously when he got out of the car and in his interview too, and he owned up to it. He took it right on the chin.
Yeah.
But man, and that was going to be a car that was going to be really strong and have the contention to win, and you don't even get a chance to run it.
It didn't even get a chance to get heat in it, for God's
No,
sakes.
no.
I feel like that kind of set the tone for the rest of the day. Really, like it just kind of went along and we got going green until we got to another caution with for a wreck, and then it just kind of sprinkled a little bit and they kept cars on track, and then we just finally got to racing after that. But the rain just kind of persisted enough to cause issues to start the whole deal.
And it was the simple mistakes too.
Yep.
That's what ended up costing drivers, kind of getting into the race. Marco Andretti got caught up in a race or in a wreck right away. Alexander Rossi, he had an issue with the engine, which ultimately was probably going to take him out.
Yep.
But then he ended up having that fuel fire.
Oh my God, that was kind of scary.
Oh yeah.
Because that fueler, he was right in the middle of it, and he just like his suit literally was burning as he was standing there, and they were just hosing him with any fire extinguisher or any flame retardant that they could find.
Now, thank God they used a different fuel, not that pure alcohol fuel that they used to run, where you could at least see the flame.
Correct.
Um, you had Renus VK who spun coming to pit road because he had no brakes, and then you had Kiffin Simpson who ended up going long in his pit and running over again another one of his fuelers.
Yep.
So just simple small mistakes was really costing
Yeah,
guys.
I'm gonna rewind here just a little bit. Just yeah, the simple mistakes here. First off, Kyle Larson giving Scotty Mack a salute there driving by, not making any friends. Um,
Boy,
yeah,
that's you want to talk about heated debate between the IndyCar fans and the NASCAR fans?
He
Wow.
stirred the pot there quite hard.
yeah. So Kyle Larson gives him a thumbs up after he wrecks it. Um, and then like you said, then um Marco Andretti, I see he posted the video. Got a little wheel to wheel contact from wasn't even again his fault. Somebody moved up the track, gave a little wheel to wheel contact, sent him spinning. But he posted the camera from right above his helmet, and he put the my Indy point 0.5.
Yikes.
So the Andretti curse continues.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, like you said, it was. I mean, you talked about it. Arson, another self-induced spin, the no brakes, the guy hitting the gas, forget who it was, hitting his crew member. And then let's
Uh
not
Schwartzman, yep.
Yep.
talk about they were penalized and down, but Newgarden, what a charge.
Oh,
Um until the penalty. That was they were trying they were talking where he's got to be mile wise or lap wise where he's got to be to have a shot, and he was well above his pace. They're talking, get him in the top 10 with 100 to go, whatever, and
yep.
he was 7 8 or 6 7, and ultimately what was what ultimately was the issue that took him out?
Fuel pressure.
Yep.
Yep.
So yeah, that would have been awesome to see him go shotgun on the field and just
And
methodically pick his way through the field and ultimately have a shot. And yeah, that would have been the ultimate
Well, and
salute
then
to
the
the
other thing too
IndyCar
is,
fans for Team Penske to have him go shotgun on the field after the week they had, and then to win that thing would have been.
yep. Another thing too with that was Takuma Sato, who led a really good chunk of that race early on and was really looking to be a threat, had his pit road struggles as well as he slid through the box and had a slow stop, I think is what it was.
yeah. Yeah. Pit road seemed to be a
Ooh.
nightmare for a lot of guys.
Yeah, and you talk about that. I mean, we're talking about self-inflicted mistakes here on track, but we're not even talking about the amount of guys too that stalled it on pit road.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then ultimately track position from the pit strategy was the call at the end, and ultimately set Palou up for the late race pass and win. Um, and ultimately he gets his first Indy 500 win. And then just touching on too, the not only do we have a sellout at the crowd atmosphere at that place is obviously a spectacle. Another sellout, crazy atmosphere, but the viewership numbers were knocked the cover off the ball here with just over 7 million viewers tuned into that race. So um, the Indy 500 is alive and well.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Um, of
Do you want
note
do you want to
too.
talk a little post race maybe?
Well, before we dive into that, well, actually, yes, dive into that because I've got a kind of a follow-up post with that. First off, Alex Palou, another dominant season for him.
Yep.
This was just a cap for him. He's obviously already a three-time winner or a three-time championship winner, but um now he's got the Indy 500 under his belt. Dude is just having a season,
Yep.
to say the least. He's got one, two, three, four. His five of the six races won so far this year. So,
Damn near putting together a perfect season.
yep. And again, with this win, obviously cements pretty much his legacy already. And also said that he shot down F1 rumors of saying, "I like where I'm at."
Yeah, made it very clear.
So, and then yeah, we go into the post race struggles,
Technical, yeah, tech shed
tech
troubles, if you
shed.
want to call it that.
Which obviously we had those issues earlier in the week, and that came with the consequences from Team Penske with releasing very high executives.
Yep.
And it was kind of one of those scenarios where was was Tech going to be a lot more picky after the race as well because of it. And I think we're seeing a little bit of that.
Starting to see their ratcheting down on the little things that were maybe getting through, and all of a sudden after race you get three guys tossed out, including your runner-up finisher.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll start to see a little bit more of that. Either that or teams are going to have to be high and tight with everything they do. You know?
Not that I'm rooting for some of this stuff to come up, but it's kind of good to get some of these topics that we've been having with NASCAR spread out across the other series. We got no passing in Monaco Grand Prix, and then we got the old tech shed biting some people in the Indy 500. So it's good to see that we're not NASCAR's not the only series that's dealing with this stuff. So, um, yeah, that was
I don't
yeah.
know enough really to know what the toss was for. Van Girl, maybe you know a little bit in terms of like the Delara supplied energy management system.
Yeah, so it's just basically they have a hybrid system that stores energy for the car. Um, and basically they modified where it's mounted and its mounting points, probably in a way of shifting weight in the car, if I had to venture to guess.
Got it. Okay.
If just based off of that explanation, not diving too deep into it.
Yep.
Um, that's probably what it was. The other one for the Prima team was for the front wing plate. So that one was a completely different penalty from that. Um, from the sounds of it, all teams are pretty much going to accept their penalties.
Each.
So,
Got it.
yeah. Of note, Pato Award, who was your initial fourth place finisher, ended up finishing third. Then posted a photo of himself on the old Twitter machine. This is where we're going to lose our PG rating, by the way.
Got
Um, he said he's got a sticker on his forehead with rainbows and stuff like that, and said, "I did my fucking best."
it.
With the
Oh,
caption of just 2025 Indy 500 P3.
that's funny.
So,
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah, they're working through some bugs, one might say, in terms
yeah.
of what's going to really go on with that whole series collectively.
I think this will be in a collective way. This will be an Indy 500 to remember just because of one, the chaos of the race itself, two,
Yep.
the Larson double and the story behind that. Palou getting his first win, McLaughlin wrecking early in the race, and then all the technical issues around it.
Yep.
And you didn't even include the lead up the week prior to the Indy 500, the drama that we had.
Oh, with,
Oh,
yeah, technical tech inspection.
Yep.
yeah, the as that one guy was wearing the shirt that said "Team Cheaters."
Yep.
Um, we had that anticipation build um, leading up to it, and then all that chaos that you just mentioned ensued. Um, but yeah, the week leading up to it was obviously chaotic, and that's not those aren't just pit crew members that Team Penske was letting go. Those were some powerful and
Hammers.
higher up. Yeah. So yeah, it ultimately was storylines across the board. And I see some interesting comments coming out just about from Larson too, about the double, and if he making it sound like he's leaning towards it. He wants to run the Indy 500 again, but doesn't ever foresee a double.
Yep.
The stars just have to align
Well,
for it to
and so
really work.
the thing I read about it is like we as motorsports collectively need to work together to help in any way within reason to let this happen. It's like we're fighting against each other right now with how close they are. You know, like I understand you have the Monaco Grand Prix prior to it, but we got to somewhat to a certain degree help ourselves too, you know? Like,
And Justin Marks, I think, was a big advocate for this. And obviously, he kind of had the stage in order to do this with what we'll cover here in a little bit. Um, but he also said that, yeah, shifting this race is such a good thing for both sides. Because then
yep,
the other thing, too, is that you could get, I always say it's the Indy NASCAR double with the NASCAR guy doing the double. Newgarden's been vocal and saying, I would like to do the double, doing
yep,
his IndyCar responsibilities and then finding the NASCAR ride, which
yep.
I would say finding the NASCAR ride's a little bit harder to do just because of the charter system and this, that, and the other. But when you get Justin Marks, a Trackhouse guy who's got that Project 91 car sitting out there, and
Of course.
especially and being a Chevy and NASCAR having a Chevy team as well, I'm sure he'd be more than happy to say, "Hey, I've got a Chevy car if you want to ride."
Yep.
I feel like Marks is one of those guys, like, don't tempt him with a good time. Because if
Oh,
you tempt him with a good time, he's all for it.
And
Yeah.
he's
absolutely.
got lots of this to go with
Got
it.
mucho dinero in the back pocket ready to rock and roll too. So
And we got to remember too who he bought that team from,
Chip Ganassi.
who has an IndyCar team.
Yep.
Now, I have to double check to see if he runs because I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know if Chip runs Honda or Chevy off chance, which I'm going to double check that here.
But either way, there's enough ties that if they wanted to be more flexible, there could be a potential way to do it.
Yep. And I've also been vocal about series working with each other, even double headers on the
Yep. Of
schedule or just this, that, and the other to give drivers an opportunity to be a little more flexible.
course.
So is the double a cool thing to have? Absolutely. And I think it's one of the greatest things that we can do, especially for this Indy 500 and Coke 600 deal. Could we do it for others? I would sure would hope so. But I think we could be a little bit more better logistically with it as well.
Yeah, all across the board.
Yep.
Not, and it's not to point fingers at one group or the other. There's ways that we can both work together to be able to get this to be a more feasible thing.
Yep.
Is it a stretch? Absolutely. Can you control the weather? No. But there are a few avenues that we could use to work together.
Now, on the backside of this as well, and I'm going to kind of contradict myself with this as well. We don't need it every year.
Correct.
Every once in a while, like the last time we had it was when Kurt Busch did it back in, oh God, you're talking mid 2010s,
Yes, I believe
around
so.
there. Um,
That
so you get a nice little break in between there, and you get a guy that wants to pull the double.
adds the anticipation to it.
Yep, it makes it that much more special.
Absolutely.
So, am I good for not having a double for a handful of years? Absolutely. Do I want to see come back? Absolutely. I would actually love to see an IndyCar guy do it as well.
Yep.
So,
some rumors circulating about your boy.
well, you know who he's got to say, what boss he's got to have to say yes.
Yeah.
It's the same boss though for that IndyCar guy.
Yep.
So,
Street goes two ways potentially.
Hell, who's to say that they just both don't do it?
Correct.
But if for the guy that you're referring to, Blaney, I don't think he just wants to do IndyCar. I think he just wants to do NASCAR.
Yeah,
The want to do it is not there, I feel like.
I would
For
agree.
his safety, let's just keep him in a NASCAR.
Uh,
But yeah, Larson obviously had, not gonna, yeah. I For what it's worth too, we'll get into it. I think you could say this is the old sophomore slump. Um, it just
Oof,
goes
yeah.
goes to show how difficult this is, and not only race, but he smashed some stuff up in practice and qualifying and stuff like that. So it's yeah, like you said, it's no easy task to do,
Mhm.
but and to your point too of like, do we need it every year? But it's like for him, I don't know. You got to keep doing it to, driving the Indy cars. I,
Oh, it's difficult.
yeah, and so yeah, he's only doing it one time a year, but does he got to keep going to continue to get more comfortable in the Indy car and figure this out? So is the only way to get this to ultimately do it, just keep doing this to get the results that he ultimately wants? Do we just have to keep hammering at it?
And I don't think he did as much testing because he did a Phoenix test before. He did, I think, another test even before they went to Indy. So he had a little bit more seat time even before going into this year.
Yeah,
So
it'll be interesting to see what happens next, and if he continues to do it. From just the initial comments too, like he said, is he'd like to run the Indy 500, doesn't want to move the event, and so yeah, I don't know. Um, the double is a wild thing to do, and I feel like he's got to do it just one more time next year, just because the first
yeah,
one we had issues last year, we got
at
issues this
Charlotte,
year. The third time, come on,
third time's the charm, as they say.
that we
Yep.
can get everything to just next year. It's going to be 75 and sunny, in Indy it's going to be 82 and sunny in Charlotte, and he's going to be rocking and rolling. So
Now, here's the thing, though. I know we're extending this conversation a little bit, but I just thought of this point. Let's just say theoretically, right? Whoever does the double, and I say whoever for a reason, whoever does the double for shits and giggles wins the 500. You have all the media and all the responsibilities afterwards of that. How do you handle that situation?
The winner just dips out. Like, what do you do?
I just,
yeah,
I'm
sorry,
just throwing
gotta
it out there.
go.
We're doing this double on the fact that he doesn't win that somebody doesn't win the race.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I
Now, is it one of those things where if I win the Indy 500, am I going to dip on the 600? Absolutely. It's the Indy 500.
Look,
Yep.
I look. I'm just going to throw this out there. I know we don't have any insight to it, but Hendrick Motorsports is not throwing him in the double and not having every which scenario
Yep.
planned out. They've got
They had a
what
if he wins scenario in there.
correct, and it felt like when we were under weather delay there at the beginning, and they saw him doing the old watch check in the car, like they know minute by minute where he's got
Yep.
to be and what he's got to do. So
Yep.
they don't do that without them having the contingent what if, you know 2 million to 1 odds that he wins that thing. They have that plan figured out, but yeah, that would be a major,
Yep.
hey, get up there, get some picks, and let's go get in the chopper, we got to hit the road. But yeah, I don't know, fly that chopper right down on the old winter circle and pick him up and get him out of there. So
Have it
I don't
land
know.
on the track right in front of the bricks, kiss the bricks, and get out of there.
Yeah,
Yep. Sayonara.
yeah, yeah.
So
So ultimately though, awesome race, fun to watch. exciting. No shortage of storylines there. So, any other final thoughts on the Indy?
Just one comment that I had from Pete Pistone. I love his insight. I think he's very raw in his opinions, and it's usually on the mark as well. He said, obviously, with all the technical issues of Indy, it's really casting a dark cloud on the sport this year when it comes to racing, both on the national scene, the weekly scene, the regional scene.
Yep.
Kind of a dark cloud this year.
Yeah.
So I had to throw that in there.
Anything else?
That's all I got.
Nope.
Well, then let's rock into the second portion of the double here and head down to Charlotte for the Coke 600. We had a pretty interesting Coke 600 here. And yeah, I'll just kick it to you guys and see where you guys want to start, and then I'll chime in.
I feel like it was just kind of a host of troubles for the big dogs again.
A little bit. I mean, we were talking all throughout the race, like, man, this top 10 is not
Wild.
the top 10 that you would be thinking of.
You got Allmendinger consistently in the top 10 all day. Noah Gragson, have yourself a day. Ran inside like that 6 to 12 range all day, just
Yeah.
was there all day. It's like, man. And then Hocevar finds his way to the front until he had his issues. But that
Priest
was,
was getting up there.
well,
Kozlowski, I mean, just your slew of guys that just overall were having good runs at not an easy track to run at by any stretch.
right. The guys we just figured would make ground early and often, just it took them a long part of the race to get there.
Yep. But it was also, you saw that dominant car. And usually there's always that dominant car at this race. And you saw that in William Byron. I mean, they came out ready to kick ass and take names.
Dude led 297 laps, I believe.
283 was the official.
283. Okay.
Yep.
And I
The
forget
dude almost led 3/4 of the race.
I forget who it was in the booth, um, called the shot early, that was so dominant, came back to bite him, that when you're running out front, old Rudy's sitting on top of the box going, what do we got to do? What do we got to do? What do we got to do to make this thing better? We led 283 laps, and then somebody runs them down, and
Yep.
then we got
And you got to
issues.
learn. Yep.
Yeah.
And you got to learn.
But yeah, and then not only that, dominant car, but let's talk about the second portion of the old double there. And Hung Money, it looked like he had another car to beat, and um, Buddy biffed it off coming off of four there.
Well, that was after he hit the wall coming off at 2.
Yeah, he hit the
Yeah.
wall, then he lost it, and then he got collected in that wreck. Yeah,
So,
they had the toll plates out and everything. They were checking that thing over with a fine-tooth comb, trying to figure out what was going on.
And it wasn't right. I mean, it was,
No.
that car lost its performance afterwards.
They lost a big chunk. He was running like in the low 20s, and I was just like waiting for him to come through the field. I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
he's coming. And he just never did. And then he got mangled up in that wreck with Suarez and Blaney, and who else was in that one?
Uh,
But that, I mean, that took out a
yeah.
handful of good cars. Like Blaney, just a complete innocent bystander again.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's just a damn shame. It's really
yeah,
what.
and then not only that, but going into the later portion of that race, you're talking about a wild top 10 that we had. That 77 car, Spire Motorsports and Carson Hocevar,
Strong.
is strong, and it is consistently strong. It feels like over the course of this year, he's starting to finally not only find speed, but he's running up front. He's consistently running up front, and Buddy gets the old Chili's hot rod up there, and the old Chili's hot rod does what Chili's does to you, explodes. Um,
They always say they run
so
best before they blow up.
Yeah. Yep.
um,
Well,
so
So,
yeah, he could.
he was Twitch streaming and he said basically what happened, and I don't know how it all works, but basically what happened is it somehow spun the motor backwards. He was Twitch streaming and he said that's what had happened. And as he goes, well, it spun the motor backwards. He goes, and of course, you lose you lose your oil pressure spinning the motor backwards. And he goes, that was the end of it.
yep. You always heard that in the old days when the guys would spin, if you were going to spin backwards, you push the clutch in to quit the motor from spinning
Yeah.
because you never wanted it to spin backwards. So same idea essentially.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how it happened. Because I mean it was almost like right as it shifted
Yeah.
is when it did that,
Kind of right in the middle of 1 and 2. Yeah.
when you would hit your shift point. Um, did you guys catch what he finally stopped in the infield? His radio commentary afterwards.
Hocevar?
Yeah.
Well, they go fire it up when you can. He goes, no, I blew up.
There was an additional word in there.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that we're on streaming service with that because they don't have to apologize for language.
Correct.
If it happens. They obviously bleeped out a couple of times when it did. But if it happens, oops.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
um,
but that wreck ultimately collected another fast car in
Busher.
RFK and Busher, and ultimately,
You're probably
yeah,
lucky that
just
didn't take out half the field.
Oh,
correct.
absolutely. And I'm
To be
surprised. And with that, like I saw that smoke. I'm like, oh, there's oil on the track, and nobody, and like everybody was gonna spin, but nobody was spinning. They were getting mostly out of the way.
Yeah. Yeah, Busher just came sailing through there and had nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, not to fast forward to um the end of the race, but ultimately, um, the old Chastain, um, the rear view mirror driver goes shotgun on the field and drives that thing from 40 to 1. So, um, he gets the job done. Feels like he was due for a win, just with that team. And so he goes 40 to 1 and ultimately gets his um, first career Coke 600 win. And so, not to totally pivot off of the Coke 600 racing, but
I
I'm
know where
just
you're
going to
going
pose
with
this.
this. I
What?
want to throw out a stat real quick with Chastain. I think they mentioned it on the broadcast too, but first driver to start last that was not due to a penalty
Yep.
and win the race since 1971, where Richard Petty did it at Richmond
Yep.
in the Cup race. So, want to throw it out there quick.
Yeah.
And so my follow-up question, not to go again off of Coke 600 topic, but does this make a case to take the Roval off the schedule with increased road courses, or what are we thoughts? What are we thoughts on the Charlotte Oval and then Roval?
I mean, I think it does. It's not the first time that conversations came up.
Yeah.
It's now that we've had this race and just how good it was. I mean, that's hard to say no. But the other side of that, and this was mentioned on Dale Jr. Download with Jordan Bianchi earlier today. Um, does you see tracks that have two dates go down to one, and you see ticket sales go up because of it? Whereas if you have two races at a track, you kind of get people that pick and choose the race they want to go to, and you don't get that full sale like
Right.
you could.
Yeah, I know it's a tough balance there on the money side of it, but the racing product is just so damn good.
Oh yeah.
Like how can you argue against that where yeah, I don't know. I've not really been a big Roval guy from the inception of that whole thing. I've been kind of wishy-washy on that. So like as that's just my personal thing of I was kind of skeptical on it to begin with, and now seeing this, I'm kind of like, all right, let's go back to the oval the second time.
Question: do you guys know the attendance of the Roval?
It was a sellout. I know that.
Shit, that doesn't help my case.
Yep, I was just gonna say.
If that's what you were
Oh,
implying.
Correct. Yeah.
yeah.
Dang
I
it.
don't know. Yeah.
I mean, the schedule's
I
let's. I mean, we have to think that the schedule's going to take a fairly big shakeup here next year. I just have a feeling we're going to see something very unique next year.
I think so. And again, as NASCAR continues to expand and broaden the horizon, where
You got to
the
go back
rumors of
to Wilkesboro and Rockingham. We forgot about Rockingham.
when you want to talk about the dilemma of Chicago street race, that seems like that's been not piddling out, but it feels like that's a year to year thing now, where it's not like,
America.
hey, okay, one vote Road America. But it feels like the Chicago street race thing is kind of, piddling out, and that is a more so like not solidified future. That's more of like a, hey, yep, we're going to do it next year. We'll assess it again at the end of the year. So it feels like this might be the last Chicago street race.
So,
Um,
right. And you have to remember now the championship race is on rotation. Now, does Phoenix have 2 dates?
Does Charlotte become that championship race?
Is that put themselves in the conversation for it? Now, on top of that, obviously everyone has set the world on fire with how Wilkesboro raced.
But you also, and I think we mentioned this last time, now you're getting really saturated in that Carolina region.
yeah.
Correct. Are you losing
So
other parts of the country? I don't know. I think we're going to see something crazy schedule wise. I'm ready for the unexpected. I don't know what that is, but I'm ready for it
now do you see it next year or do you see it the year after?
I
next
think we're
year.
going to see it. Yeah, I think we're going to see the start of it next year.
Because I mean, they got to be wrapping it up here quick. You figure.
Yeah.
Of course.
So
Not only that, but let's talk briefly here on um as much as this frustrates the heck out of me here, um, NASCAR bebopping around on as many different networks as we do have, or as many networks as we have races. Um, first race on the Amazon Prime. Um, just get your guys' quick initial thoughts on how you thought that the Prime broadcast and broadcast crew did, and what your overall thoughts were.
maybe one of those just things of it's great because it's new, but god damn it, was that good?
Yeah, I was impressed.
Uh,
I was thoroughly impressed. I was hesitant, but they put together a very good cast and they did a hell of a job. I mean, the fact that they were using AI calculations off of cars in terms of that to project fuel mileage and what they were burning and using an actual graph to show it, it was another element. And they were so excited to use that and it worked out perfectly.
Now, who was in the booth again? It was
Adam
Alex,
Alexander, Dale Jr., and Steve Letarte.
Yep.
and so correct me if I'm wrong, but we're just turning back the dial to what, 2 years ago when they were in the NBC booth together.
Not quite. You had Rick Allen,
Close to it. Yeah, though. But
but
yes, close to it.
So I mean, we got three experienced guys up there, um, who've got obviously no racing, and they've had some experience in the booth together. So it's not like we're, for Amazon Prime, we weren't starting with hey, let's grab these three guys and see how they do together. No, we put three all stars in the booth together, and we hit the ground running. So, and I don't want to your point too, of is it just new, whatever. The other thing is I don't know. I don't know the whole Fox Sports situation, but damn, do they set the bar low?
Well, I was even reading a little bit on Twitter. Did Amazon Prime expose NBC a little bit too?
I think I think it's got the Dale Jr. effect. First, I think Dale Jr. in the booth is phenomenal. And then you get the combination of Steve Letarte and Dale Jr., who are both, they could just bam, 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 back and forth at each other.
Yeah.
And plus, I think Dale Jr. kind of called some shots as far as things he wanted done on production, but I think it was for the better. And then you
Yep.
get Adam Alexander, who just pitches it out to him and let them two have at it.
And I think, yeah, obviously this is the first one. Obviously, it was the Coke 600. It was the perfect storm for them to get started. I think when you check in again in 3 or 4 weeks, we're going to have a very good beat as to like, okay, this is what we want, or this was they did really good for one and they struggled with the rest.
Yep.
You're going to start to see the ebb and flow of the consistency of what that broadcast and production really looks like.
One thing that I really enjoyed from the broadcast outside of the race was the post-race production.
Hour and 19 minutes they gave,
You just
whereas
had a
Fox, you
pure
had 5 minutes.
you had a pure sit down, you had drivers come in, you had different interviews, you had different insights, you hit the storylines, and I think for as much as you guys bash on LaJoy, I think he was pretty decent on the table.
He did give some good insight, and he can give a unique
Yeah.
perspective too.
Yeah.
Obviously, as much as he's been in that next gen car,
Of course.
yeah, and you throw him on pit road with Carl Edwards, those two, I thought they did a good job.
And
Yep.
I think Daniel Trotta is the perfect host for that as well.
Yeah,
She's
so
perfect for it.
yeah, so like you said, it'll be interesting to see. Like you said, this is the first one, so let's just hold our horses just a bit here, and let's I truly believe with that we keep bringing that lineup together, like you said. Got a pretty solid lineup that it's going to be pretty consistent across the board, and I feel like it'll, yeah, it's going to be a good crew. So, um,
One one comment on that. I'm gonna go to Dale Tanhart, who is a little bit of a social media guy, but he also does a lot of betting on stuff, which he had a hell of a parlay going on until Chastain ruined it for him. Um, he was asked simply, "What do you think of the Prime broadcast?" He said it's A plus. It gives him old school Daytona vibes when they make the broadcast switch years ago, which would essentially have been when NBC would have taken over in
Yep.
the early 2000s. Um, he said that they've made this race feel important, which is critical for race fans right now based on how Fox has treated the broadcast. He said this race specifically. So, Kellen, to your point, when we get four races down the road, and we're looking at towards the end of it, I'm trying to bring up the schedule here real quick. Michigan is going to be, I think, a good litmus test for it.
Yep. I mean, the next couple you got coming up are Mexico and Pocono too.
Yep, you got Nashville, Michigan, Mexico, which will be a new experience, obviously.
Yeah.
And Pocono would be the real, all right, fifth race in at your typical race.
Yep. Let's see what you got.
Yep.
yeah. Um, and then just wrapping this conversation up here. First 90%, first 90 burger we got, that was it. It was a good race, from Gluck. So, um, feels like consensus all around the board. Good racing, good broadcast, and just overall good event, across the board.
Of note, it was number 4 out of 17 on Charlotte Oval races in the poll. Of all 3 completed next gen era races, so they've only had 3 of them that went the full distance. All 3 of them have been 90%.
Wow. Okay.
So
He's, I think you should maybe add that for another second race this year or in the year.
take that as you see fit.
That's a race fan vote.
You
So
got it. Any other final thoughts on Coke 600?
Great race.
yep,
Needed a nice shot there of just something awesome.
so we got it.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's rock and roll into some news from on top of the pit box here. And we got a fair share of news. So um, I guess who wants to start and where do you want to start?
I'll take the first three. I'm excited for these.
Okay.
Madison International Speedway up here in Wisconsin. They are going to open the Midwest Race Car Graveyard, inspired by Dale Jr.'s Dirty Mo Acres. They're planning to open that the summer of 2026 in the woods just south of the racetrack on the property. So, pretty cool deal there. I'll be excited to see who brings a car, who brings what, who drops off some stuff to be able to put in the graveyard up here in the great state of Wisconsin.
Yeah,
So,
I'm looking forward to that one too.
yeah, that'd be a cool deal to see kind of what shows up and who's willing to drop stuff off.
McCartney's just doing a let's just see what it does.
Of course. Dale Jr., speaking of him, he's bringing back the MLB Budweiser scheme for the Cars Tour race at Anderson. So obviously he'll be jumping back in the car for that deal. Just
You
back to that.
did you guys see the video unveiling of that?
Yeah,
Did you hear the guy yell in the background for that?
no.
There was he had to been an older gentleman. He was there. They did it for their fan fest type of thing. And he
Yep.
goes, once he got about halfway, you just hear the guy yell, "It's the baseball car!"
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, they put it together. It is a spitting image of the car that he ran in the Cup Series. So
Yep.
that'll be cool to see that rig back on racetrack. And then the last one for me, Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series. They announced a revamp to their Georgia Florida Speed Weeks. Basically, their 12 nights of racing with purses in the $650,000 range. They are going to shift to after the Daytona 500. And the three tracks that will comprise that will be Alltech, Ocala, and Golden Isles. So those will be the three tracks from dates that span February 18th, which starts testing to the last race day of March 7th. So
Good tracks in there.
good tracks, not quite a month, but we're talking nearly $700,000 in purse money to go race speed weeks with the big dogs down there. So another wrinkle in what's going to be schedules that will start to pop out and going to events and renewing dates and
Yep.
some teasers into schedules. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, then I'll get in here with some um, fair share of NASCAR news. Hendrick Motorsports resigned William Byron to drive through 2029. No surprise there, just with the success he's had in that team. So um, he is a hot commodity, one of the best to do it. So no surprise there. Hendrick locks him up. Um, I'm guessing this was the Jack man that put this in here, but I'll just read this word for word. RCR and Kyle Busch agree to make each other worse and sign an extension through 2026.
Wow.
A 1 year extension there for Kyle Busch and the RCR crew to
Can't
maybe
believe
another
you actually
year.
read that word for word.
Wow.
Maybe another year they can figure it out. Fresh
Yeah,
off the press. What was that?
you'd be asking yourself that in 2050 too.
For real. Um, Fresh off the press today, Corey Eliason and TKS Motorsports announced they have parted ways. TKS just said they wish Corey the best and they are going to work on finalizing their future plans. So, another good driver, jobless. So, and then lastly, the Mexico City race, Daniel Suarez is announced he will drive the number 9 Junior Motorsports car. So Suarez will be in the number 9 Junior Motorsports car at Mexico City. And yeah, he will run the Xfinity race in some dang good equipment and try to get himself a win.
Piggybacking off of that, NASCAR announced that they'll have two provisional entries for that Xfinity Mexico City race. Um, Basically, they work the same way as the provisional was for the Daytona 500. No points, no money. You just run for a trophy, and that's it.
Yep.
So expect to see those two filled probably by some NASCAR Mexico teams and drivers.
Yep.
So stay tuned for that. Um, we were talking about the Chicago Street Course earlier. Colleague Racing announced that Will Brown will be driving their number 13 car for that race. It will be, I believe, the second race for Will Brown in the NASCAR series. So it'll be interesting to see what he does there. He is the reigning supercars, Australian supercars champion as well. So of note on that. Following up on some news from earlier in the year, Cordell Speedway, after their split with the UARA, obviously had a lot of questions about their Superfest races. Well, we have answers. The Southern Super Series has stepped up to enter a strategic partnership with them. Those races are now under Southern Super Series sanction, but they'll be non-points races for those two races, which have been rescheduled for early September as well.
Yep.
And then finally, some more tech news here. We had the Little 500 earlier this weekend, sprint car race in Anderson, Indiana, on Saturday night. Initial winner, Dakota Armstrong, was DQ'd for a digital device mounted on that car. It ended up being a lap timer that Armstrong has used throughout the year, just not used by those 500 sprint cars. So there was no technical advantage. There was no absolute no advantage to it. It was just info that ended up costing him the race. So
Yeah, it's a rough one.
Yeah, that's especially go through the whole song and dance and get a big check and a lot of pictures, and then oof, it's all gone.
yep.
Let's get into handing out a weekly award here. Um, and we got some good nominees here for the old Wheelman of the Week. And this one's already decided, but we'll go ahead and we'll cast out some nominees here. So um, I'll
Oh,
I'll go first here. Hudson O'Neal wins 2 of 3 nights with the Lucas Oil late models for the Show Me 100, um, Show Me 100 weekend.
Next one, Jevin Gralski. He wins the Salute the Troops 100 at Jefferson in only his second start with the Midwest Tour. So that car went from junked at WIR on Saturday to winning the following week. So talk about a topsy-turvy week.
and he had two different sides to that car as well.
Yeah, they found themselves in victory lane after what felt like could be a long road of a season after that car met the wall hard in turn 4 at WIR.
Yep.
So
I'm gonna save this next one for one of you two guys.
Come on, I'll take it. Derek Kraus wins the ASA Stars National Tour race, and believe he went shotgun on the field. Had to
twice.
start
Yep, did it twice.
um, had to start deep based on not did he not qualify or not practice based on being at the Cup Series stuff. Um, yeah, that was a hugie. What track was it at again? Just
That
looking.
was at Newport.
Newport,
Oh
yeah.
yeah,
Told you guys the place raced like Slinger.
All right, I'm gonna take these last three because I feel like you're not gonna want to go anywhere else with it. So Ross Chastain wins the Coke 600 from last place, another last place driver there. He led 8 laps after chasing down Byron. Alex Palou wins the Indy 500. Took the lead with less than 15 to go, and Aaron Reitzel, hell of a year going for him. Wins 100K at Port Royal. He dominated that race to win that one for the High Limit Series. I'm gonna throw my vote out because I feel like I already know where you two are going.
Go
I am
ahead.
gonna go. I'm gonna be the spoiler on this one. I'm gonna be Ross Chastain on this one, and I know it doesn't even matter because I know where you guys are going for it.
Really? You went Ross Chastain. Interesting. Why?
I went 40-1,
Yep.
600-mile race, a grueling race, survived the
Yep.
carnage, right pit strategy. I mean, ran down Byron and passed Byron to win that race.
I mean, Reutel had a good night too at Port Royal for 100 grand.
He
I,
did.
I was thinking you were going to go Reutel, if I'm being honest.
Nope. I just felt like Ross Chastain. I mean, it just got up on the wheel and got at it. So
Come on,
that's
I'm
where my
going
vote
for.
would go. But I know where this is going. So I'll let you guys have the honors.
Yeah, I'll do the honors.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Derek Kraus.
I'll second that. I'll give it to Derek Kraus as well.
By majority votes. I already typed it in. So
I got the graphic made already. Oh man.
you can finally put that
uh,
piece of sheet metal behind you to use.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
yeah, huge win for him on the national tour, and you can just it's on his post race interview too, getting a little bit choked up and just talking about a little bit the struggle he's been through over the last few years and just questioning whether he can do it or not. So, huge win for him and a family team that, like he said, it's tough to do to win races like that when you're going up against the Wilson and Campies of the world. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, huge win for him and his team, and hopefully that can build some momentum for him going forward.
Cool. Van Girl, I guess one of
Um,
the winners for the week.
Yeah, I'll fly through this because there's a lot of them here. Rico Arbor wins the mini high limit midweek series race at Grandview. Uh, the other ASA race at Hickory Motor Speedway, talking about the Campy Camp. Colby Howard wins that one. We talked about Hudson O'Neill winning a couple of races. Austin Green won the Arkham Menards race at Charlotte, which Cletus McFarland was in. Another top 10 for him on that. Randy Sargent won the Big 8 race at Madison. Joel Bennett, Dirt Kings at Outagamie. Scott Gardner won the Mid-Am race at Madison. Corey Heim won the truck race at Charlotte. Tyler Roig won the
Rory,
Silver Crown race at Luke's Oil for the Hoosier 100. Ashton Winger won the first race at Tri-City for the Mars Late Models. Logan Schuhart won the Outlaws race at Attica Raceway. Jake Bowman won the Arca Menards West race at Colorado. Mitch Graff won the other Dirt Kings race at Shawano. Brett Marks won High Limit at Port Royal first night. Joel Myers Jr. won the IRA race at Wilmot. Bobby Pierce won the Show Me 100 at Lucas Oil to round out that weekend. William Byron won the Xfinity race. Jake Trainer won the Little 500 after Dakota Armstrong was DQ'd. Colin Allman won the Bill Bigley tune-up. Logan Schuhart again won the World Outlaws at Attica Speedway. Cannon McIntosh won the Extreme Outlaws race at Airport. Jason Fager won the Fairbury race at Mars. Lando Norris won Formula One. Aaron Reitzel again won the big 100K at Port Royal. Scotty Thiel, first win of the year for him in the RI Sprint Cars. Um, this one's a good one for you guys. Dennis Erb Jr. from the high side gets a win at Spoon River for the Mars Late Models. Derek Meyer won the truck race at Golden Sand Speedways. John Beal won the super late model race, and then Carson Macedo won the Outlaws race at Atomic Speedway.
as you're coasting through those, one that we didn't even hit on, William Byron wins the Xfinity race on a DQ. Did Sammy Smith win it?
No,
No, he finished fifth.
Did Byron win it outright?
Byron
Yeah.
won it outright.
I thought
Yeah.
he won it on a DQ.
Nope.
Damn.
No.
Oh, scratch that. Just edit that right out of there.
Got it.
All right. Yeah, then let's get into some racing for this up week. So I'll go first here with some dirt super late models here. World of Outlaws. The Wu Gang is off until June 20th, along with Lucas Oil. So a little break here, a little under a month for teams to tune up, get the equipment ready to rock and roll for a busy summer swing for them. But have no fear. On the front, and the Super Dirt Series is racing May 30th and 31st at Swainsboro for 8 and 15,000 to win. Wasota is racing May 29th at KRA Speedway, and then um, May 30th is the Fiesta City. May 30th is Fiesta City Speedway, tongue twister, and May 31st at Madison Speedway. So Wasota boys will be busy. Sunday, June 1st is at Casino Speedway. And then lastly is the Mars late models. They will be racing May 30th and 31st at LaSalle.
Of
What
note,
a
there's
group, what a group of names of tracks.
Yeah,
yeah.
wow, you guys put me in the blender there.
There's a
Fiesta
big
and Casino.
there's a big super late model race coming up that we'll talk about a little bit next week.
Yeah. Guys are prepping for that already.
Yeah.
But what else is going on?
That's your next, Kel.
Oh yeah. High limit racing. May 30th at Lawrenceburg, May 31st at Butler, World of Outlaw, the 30th at River Cities, and May 31st at Red River Valley. So a lot of red and river for the World of Outlaw gang. Extreme Outlaw Midgets, May 30th and 31st at Coles County Speedway. The Badger Midgets are back in action at Angel Park on Sunday night, June 1st. And then we will kind of briefly touch on this one a little bit too. This one gets fired off this week. The Modified World Championships up here at Mississippi Thunder. Racing is Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And if you haven't seen it yet, that Saturday night feature is $100,025 to win. So basically, if you are not racing a dirt late model, you're finding yourself a modified to race up here, and then you're going down to Eldora after that. So if somebody wins both of those, that could be wow, lots of money.
Mm-hmm.
Late model guy last year got it done. The Thriller, Cade Dillard. And then I believe Richard Thornton Jr. is coming up here to dip his toes in a modified.
Found himself right. Yep. Touching on the asphalt side of things, Cars Tour late model stocks will be at Langley on Saturday the 31st. NTT IndyCar, fresh off the Indy 500, will be racing the streets of Detroit on Sunday, along with Formula One running the Spanish Grand Prix on June 1st as well. That Streets of Detroit race with IndyCar will also be a double header with the IMSA series. They'll be racing on the streets of Detroit as well on Saturday, May 30th. Getting into the oval side, NASCAR side, the Wheelman Modifieds will be at Seacock, on the 31st. And then NASCAR, the top three series will be at Nashville. They'll be running trucks on Friday, Xfinity Saturday, Cup on Sunday. Sunday night for the Cups at that.
Yep. Absolutely.
So.
Where's Formula One racing?
Spanish Grand Prix.
We ready to make some race picks or what?
Let's let's get into some race picks for
Kelly,
Nashville.
You had a terrible week.
Yeah. I'm gonna do something a little crazy. Actually, you know what? Nope.
It's a good thing you didn't say it. I would have held you to it.
Give me AJ Allmendinger.
Ooh.
So last year in this event, he finished 11th, and that Collin car right now is running better than that. So give me Allmendinger.
All right.
I'll leave you all the hammers.
Cam, you are up next.
Give me
Come on now. Holy Christ, what are you waiting on?
I'll make a solid pick.
You got a lead, you got a buffer. Just pick a guy.
Yeah.
All right. He's not gonna get he's not gonna get torched. Give me the 12 of Ryan Blaney.
Oh my God. Good luck.
I got a little bit of a lead, so
Oh,
we'll play with
Good
that.
luck with that one, brother.
you're
Gotta
messing
play
with
with
my
that,
feelings here, brother.
We'll play with that top 5 or wreck out statistic that they mentioned on the broadcast. So
Or blow up, one of the two.
Golly. There's two guys that ran really, really, really well here last year that I'm debating on going back and forth with. There's a guy that I want to go with, but I'm just not quite ready to pick on him yet, and I'll tell you briefly on that later. I am gonna go with Christopher Bell.
Oh,
Two other
all right.
guys I was thinking about. One, Chastain.
Yep.
He runs decent here. The other one I was thinking about, Ryan Preece.
Yep.
Ran
Close enough.
fourth here with Stuart Haas last year. There was a little
Yeah.
bit of pit strategy, if I remember right, with that. But
that doesn't give you any insight into his research. Google 2024 Nashville results, and that is tire changers research.
this was also the race that we had however many overtime restarts.
Yep.
How about
So
Zane Smith?
Christopher Bell it is.
All right, let's
Okay.
update the race standings and then let's. Yikes.
Yeah, so I was actually the winner this week. I had William Byron who got me a ton of points, but Cam also had a good number of points that didn't help at all either. So Cam is currently sitting at 869 for race pick points. I am sitting at 753, and Kellen, you round out the field at 668.
Now that 1 point was not for the winner last week, by the way.
Yeah, we're not doing this golf score style.
Yeah.
So
Rough.
Cool. Any other final thoughts?
No.
great weekend. Let's build off of it.
Yep.
Real, like we said, great weekend of racing. You could argue best day in motorsports. So a lot of fun this past weekend. Hopefully we continue to build off of it, and I feel like we got some good storylines moving forward. So as always, don't be afraid to like, comment, subscribe. And we'll see y'all next week for another episode of the Tuesday Track Talk.